You decide to go for a house party. It's super fun. You meet up with this babe. You're really into her. You guys have a couple of drinks. At some point, you guys are shit-faced drunk. You black out. You wake up the following morning and you have minimal clothing on. You are in bed with her. She also has little clothing on. And she wakes up and she freaks out. She's like,
"The royal penis is clean, Your Highness."
welcome to the Breaktime Podcast, where I talk about love, sex, and relationships from a guy's perspective, as well as a bunch of other guy shit. The man on the mic is a man who likes his woman the same exact way he likes his yogurt. He is also a man who may include jumping to conclusions to his cardio routine. It is none other than a tall, dark, and mildly handsome man, Sir Denver B. And I am here to talk about men, or the male experience. But yeah, basically men. Why? Cause I can, and cause, well, some of y'all think or believe that you actually would be better men than men, but more so, you guys think you actually understand men better than actual men. And by you guys, I mean women for the most part. And, well, even though some of you might not necessarily be wrong in some bits, I tend to think that for the most part, women tend to be particularly clueless about the guy experience. You know, just the male experience in general, more so even when it comes to dating and shit. And I do hope that through this episode, I'll be able to illuminate some of the issues that men have and just some of the bits that you guys might not notice as part of the male experience, so that you can feel a little bit more educated on the fact that you guys just don't know all that much about being a guy. And should you like the episode, should you not like it, should you want to give feedback, or should you want to propose a potential topic, then you can hit me up through the DMs. The DMs are always open. The links to the DMs on all the social media apps that I am on is usually in the description, rarely ever changes, and I would be more than happy to check out what it is that you're saying and handle it accordingly. Now, I should get things going, and I'll be very honest, I wasn't entirely sure what to talk about initially, because there was this whole story that was staring at me about how apparently women over 40 are having more babies than teen moms for the first time ever, which was particularly interesting. Then I saw that the stats are from the US, and I was like, well, much as, you know, the US does have a lot of people, it's not necessarily a representation of the entire planet, but if anything, I do think that it is a step in that direction. If it started from the States, there's a very high likelihood that it's also happening in places like Europe, Asia possibly, I'm not entirely sure, but Africa might not catch up for a while because we have a lot of young people and they are not too wary about having children, or at least, you know, not pulling out. But, you know, all that aside, I also ended up encountering a particularly interesting post by the influencer that is very known to speak for ladies and about ladies' issues in the sex and relationship space, known as Oloni, who I have covered on this podcast a bunch of different times, including the recent time when she was busy talking about how men are weaponizing accountability and why, you know, it's like, I don't know, therapy speak and shit. But anyways, all that aside, she did put up a post not too long ago where she was busy talking about how to know if a man is bad in bed before you get to bed with him. Now, normally, you'd expect that, you know, something of this particular caliber and sort wouldn't be that big of an issue for a babe to talk about. But personally speaking, even though I haven't shagged dudes, and, you know, I am the dude, so I'm probably being spoken about here, I feel like she's still particularly off. Now, granted, I know, considering the kind of content that I've done concerning her, it might seem like I might have a grudge, but that's not really the case. It's just, whatever the hell she was saying didn't seem particularly accurate, and I'll get to why in a moment. But before I can give any more thoughts on this, let me just let the clip play, then I can give my thoughts on it. So, without further ado...
Find out if he's bad in bed so you don't waste your time. I'll tell you. He's impatient in every area of his life. If he's impatient in bed, imagine how foreplay will be. Rushing in traffic, cutting queues, or rushing you to choose what you want to eat. No. If he can't slow down in life, imagine what the bedroom will be. We don't want that. Oh my God, if he gasses himself up in the bedroom, even before you've slept with him, he's overcompensating. I remember when I slept with this guy, and just before he pulled his pants down, bear in mind this was in my 20s, please. So before he pulled his pants down, he must have been like, yeah, I know I have a big dick. Now, Did he have a big dick? No. It wasn't small. But it wasn't big. I just feel like that sort of insecurity will just make you get into your own head and not be present in the bedroom. Do you know what I mean? Talking about, oh, I know I have a big dick. Who says that? Who? Especially when I have eyes. Oh my gosh, if he talks about intimacy straight off the bat, that is someone who does not see you as a person, but more like a conquest. Someone they want to do something to, not someone they want to be intimate with. That is a way to tell that someone is bad in bed, because they don't give a damn about your pleasure or your needs or your wants. It's all about what they are getting from it, and that's it. Anyway, is anything I missed? How do you know before you sleep with someone whether or not that they are bad in bed? Tell me.
Okay. I feel like there's a lot that's been missed, and I do definitely want to get into that. Although, before I can do any of that, first of all, considering that I am a guy, and this is something that was being addressed to women, it might seem a little bit odd that I am speaking and saying that whatever she's saying might be inaccurate, or, there's a lot that she's missed. But let me just say that I do not play against the home team. Everything that I'm saying is based off of the many interactions that I've had with the opposite sex and the things that they've told me about their past encounters, their past sexcapades, and experiences with guys, so that I can give some sort of breakdown to this. It's not like I've done it with guys. It's not like I know the entire guy experience. I only know my own, for sure. But whatever it is that I'm saying is mainly based off of the stories and experiences that have been told to me by other women, okay? Now that I have said that and I've given that disclaimer, I can now say a bunch of the things that I want to say with a lot of confidence, if I could say that. Now, first of all, I feel like a lot of what she's pointing at is very inaccurate, because technically a guy that might seem impatient, quote unquote, might just be someone who's very time conscious. At the end of the day, if anything, that shows more of competence as opposed to someone who is generally not that good. And if anything, the female experience whenever it comes to bedroom matters is highly based off of how you make them feel, not necessarily how good you are with your dick or with your mouth or some shit, of which, I could be wrong. Ladies, you can definitely tell me if I'm saying the truth or I'm lying with that one. But essentially, him being impatient with everything else doesn't necessarily mean that he'll be impatient whenever it comes to doing it with you. Maybe this guy is being impatient because he's always trying to rush. He has a lot that he has to do from time to time. He doesn't like wasting time, but the moment he assigns you time, he is going to take his time to pleasure you. So if anything, that's not a very clear indicator. Then also, the whole talk of having a big dick or not, I've listened to babes who've straight up said that there are guys that will say that they have big dick and they don't. And then there's guys who say that they have big dick and they talk a big game, but they actually back it up. Okay? And the wild part is that she was busy talking about how a dude's dick wasn't big because it wasn't small, but it wasn't big, so it was just somewhere mid. Honestly, I don't even know how that's a problem. And if anything, considering that this is the same gender that likes to call themselves 10s, even though they know very well they're probably not a 10, I find that a guy hyping himself up by saying that he's got a big dick or he knows how he's gonna make you feel or how he's gonna do blah blah and blah all in the name of intimacy and conquest shouldn't be a particularly big deal. We have babes out here that call themselves 10s, and the closest thing that they can get themselves to a 10, of which it isn't even a 10, they try to do with makeup. So, you have people that are used to fake hyping themselves. The same exact gender that is very big on Delulu is the Solulu, is busy complaining that guys shouldn't be able to hype themselves because, they have particularly good dick. It's not small dick, it might not be the largest, but it's not small dick. So, if I hype myself for it, how is that a problem? But anyways, that is more subjective than anything, and maybe I'm just defending dudes there. Although, granted, I'm not trying to be as accurate because, all that I'm speaking of, I am speaking out of the experiences of others, not my own. So I'm most likely wrong, of which if I am or if I'm not, you can just tell me in the DMs. But either way, I am going to leave it at that and move it on to our main topic of this episode, which is a lot more my forte than what a good or bad bedroom experience with a man is. Just mainly because this one is completely different in that it's basically a take on if a babe was a guy, or if this particular woman who posted this clip on IG was a man, she would be doing so much better with women and would just be a hell of a lot better than most guys would. Now, I'm going to admit this is not the first or the second or even the third time I've heard of such a thing, and this is excluding the songs. So songs like If I Were a Boy by Beyonce or Like a Boy by Ciara, like even though I was to remove those ones, I've heard women talk about how if they were guys they would do so much better in dating than typical guys would, and I felt some type of way about it because I don't think y'all actually have an understanding of how dating is for us. And the woman whose clip I'm about to play isn't any exception. Now, before I can give my thoughts on the entire thing and why I think that she's just chatting a bunch of shit from like zero experience whatsoever, I'm going to let the clip play so that you can have some context, then I can give my thoughts on it. So, without further ado,
I was a man, every woman would want me because I would just love and cherish them and tell them how beautiful and precious they were and kiss them on their foreheads, play with their hair, buy them gifts, take them to nice dinners, spoil them, worship them, and make sure that every day that they knew that they were the most magical and beautiful creature in the world. Yeah, if I was a man, I would do that. It's weird that you men can't keep these women around.
I'm actually glad that the laughter bit wasn't edited out because goodness my, I'd also be laughing the same exact way just because as a guy, I don't think she knows. Like, as a guy that's been a guy, like as a man who's been a man for, quite a bunch of years, like, I don't think she really knows, does she? Like, honestly, this is one of those instances where you look at someone claiming that they'd be better at your shit than you would, and you clearly know that they have zero idea of the experiences, so they're just chatting a bunch of shit because she legit actually thinks it's that easy. Like, you compliment women, you kiss them on their forehead, you play with their hair, you spoil them, you buy them gifts, blah blah blah. Like, she thinks that it's just that easy, and if every guy did that, guys would be in relationships and they would be great, and we'd be flying on unicorns and shit, and everything would be absolutely lovely and we'd live happily ever after. And she does think that because probably she doesn't see a lot of guys do that, but she has zero understanding on what it is that us guys go through. Like, the exact experience that men, or at least just generally the experience that most men go through, or just men in general go through whenever it comes to dating and being with women, like, whatever the hell she's stated might not get her the results she thinks she's actually going to get. And the reason I say this is because, one, I have experience being a man. I've been a man for very many years, over a decade actually, and the kind of experience that I've had with women and trying to woo women as well as other guys' experience tells me clearly that there's a lot that's being missed, and there's a lot that's very, very misinterpreted. And the truth of it is, like, this is one of those situations where, like, you basically look at someone who's doing a job that's totally different to yours, and you see how they do it, and you see all the things that you wish they did, and then you're like, you know what, if I had your job, I would do much better. It's like me saying that I'd be a better CEO than my CEO, who is basically in charge of an organization that employs over 10,000 people that work in multiple different departments and handle different duties. Like, even if I'd want to be the CEO, I can't speak that kind of cap because, like, I don't know shit about what it is that the CEO does. And mind you, like, even though I have interacted with people that work directly with the CEO, and I know the kind of life that they live and how tough that shit is, I wouldn't even say that I know much about being a CEO well enough that I could actually take over the job and actually do it particularly well. Like, if anyone was to listen to me right now busy saying that completely out of context from what I'm actually talking about, they probably think that I'm just chatting a bunch of shit. Like, I have zero understanding on what it is that I'm saying because I'm saying that I think I'd be a better CEO than the current CEO. So if that's the case, then doesn't that mean that whatever it is that this babe is saying is just chatting a bunch of shit? Because, and I kid you the hell not, like other women have actually tried this and it's actually given particularly negative results to them, even though they thought that they'd be better men than men. Mind you, this is a gender that is basically trying to take on the role of a gender that has been that gender for years and decades even. And to give a very clear example of this, look into the story of the journalist known as Nora Vincent. Nora Vincent actually was very anti-men back in the day, or in her initial years, up until she got to a point where she decided that she'd probably be a lot better as a man, so she decided to actually enact that vision and see if she can actually pull it off. So she went to a voice coach and she basically worked on her voice such that it was deeper. She changed up her wardrobe, made sure that she dressed like a man, and she also went and she cut her hair so she actually looked like a dude. And I kid you the hell not, she performed this experiment for I think it was 18 months, if not a year. And in that year, she was basically admitted to a mental institution, and 6 months after that, she committed suicide. So that should probably tell you something about how great you'd be as a man. But you know what, considering that some people might go ahead and say that I'm pushing that story a little bit too far, oh, she might have been having other issues, blah blah. You know what, I'm just gonna go right ahead and I'm going to explain some of the major bits that would be very different for women as opposed to men. Now, of course, I have never had any experience as a woman, but I have sat with a lot of women in a lot of circles where it is majority women, and I've listened to their experiences. So I will at least try and resonate and give you guys a bit of outlook into what the guy experience is, particularly in dating, so that you can actually know if you'd fare a lot better than the typical guy would. Alright, so I am going to talk about how the dating scene is massively different for guys as opposed to women. And yes, I know, of course, there's differences, and I probably don't know enough about the female experience to say that one is better or worse than the other. But I do know that, guys, of course, don't experience, for example, being catcalled and having to deal with different hormone levels at different times of the month, as well as how some guys might feel entitled to you being submissive to them, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. Just the same way women can't entirely say that they know the experience of being the one expected to pay the bill every single fucking time. So I am going to explain some of the things that would make the guy experience particularly different when it comes to dating that I don't think women are entirely aware of. So I have about 6 points. So the first one that I can probably give you is your economic value trumps your aesthetic value. Or in short, what it is that you have in your wallet is going to trump how you look almost every single time. No matter how good you look, no matter how good looking you are as a dude, if you do not have money, you will be seen as a problem, or at best you will be seen as casual fun. Like, real talk. And yes, I know babes are gonna be like, oh, we need money too, but with guys it's different. With women, provided that you can hold your own at whatever status or level that you're at with whoever it is that you're interacting with in that environment, you're okay. But as a guy, you should be able to hold yourself as well as possibly someone else, and if you are not able to hold yourself up and someone else is probably supporting you, then you will be seen as a lesser man or a weaker man by default. And if you want song references for this, we have the song Bills, Bills, Bills by Destiny's Child, and even more famously so, TLC's No Scrubs, where they said, I don't want no scrubs. A scrub is a guy that can't get no love from me, sitting on the passenger side of his best friend's ride, trying to holler at me. Like, babes do not view you as good dating material if you cannot hold yourself up financially, because if you can't take care of yourself financially, how can you take care of her? Then the next point is, you're always considered the perpetrator in a sticky situation. By sticky situation, I mean a situation where it is hard to deliberate what the problem is and who it is that is the accuser or the victim in that particular situation. I'll give a particularly simple example. You, as a guy, because we are assuming that you are a guy, you decide to go for a house party. It's super fun. You meet up with this babe. You're really into her. You guys have a couple of drinks. At some point, you guys are shit-faced drunk. You black out. You wake up the following morning and you have minimal clothing on. You are in bed with her. She also has little clothing on, and she wakes up and she freaks out. She's like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, what happened? What did you do to me? I have a boyfriend and I didn't consent to this. Now you as a dude, you're busy just trying to find your bearing in the entire thing. You also just woke up, you're looking at her, you don't even know what the fuck happened, alright? You don't even know if you guys shagged, you don't know if you got head and you know, like, you blacked out and shit, but you're basically just trying to figure stuff out, and you're already being accused of sexually abusing a babe because, and this is the statement that always gets people, drunk does not mean consent, alright? So now, you have to basically start by defending yourself because you are guilty until proven innocent. And essentially now, not unless if someone comes up and they're like, nah, I saw the two of these guys together and she was all up on him, she led him to the room and she took off his pants, and when I walked in on them, she was giving him head and everything, and then they got into bed. Like, at that point, that is probably what will vindicate you. But up until that happens, you will be looked at as the person that basically tried to bang the babe, even though it is a case of he said, she said. Now, the situation that would have made things even more worse in this particular case is if the guy was sober and went through with the entire thing, because he can consent, she, technically, because drunk doesn't mean consent, can't. So he shall be looked at as an abuser, or a predator, as some people would call it. So essentially that's something that you would have to deal with as well as a guy if you're trying to be out here in these streets. Then the next point is you have to show how much of a green flag you are whenever you're dating, or else her and her friends will paint you as a red flag if you do not do anything. All right. So you have to be out there busy trying to put your best foot forward at all times. You treat her well, you care about her. In the event that she's not doing all that great, you should be, you know, like the shoulder for her to cry on. You need to be a caring and supportive individual, and you need to show the best qualities of yourself at all times. Otherwise, you will be looked at as a red flag for some reason or the other, because babes nowadays are always about looking for red flags. All right. Then the next point, you're expected to carry the burden of the relationship as a dude, because guess what? If she feels insecure, you should have reassured her. If she's busy losing it and she's super emotional, why aren't you listening to her? You need to care about her emotions. You know women are emotional, but you know, maybe she's hormonal. Why aren't you listening to her? If she feels unhappy with the relationship, whether she's told you about it or not, you're supposed to have figured a way, or at least you're expected to do something so that you can change that situation as is. Because guess what? If a baby is unhappy, then the relationship is headed for the rocks. If the dude is unhappy, the relationship can continue provided that he fulfills his role regardless of how he feels. So that is an expectation that you have as a guy. So it doesn't matter what your emotions are, how you feel, you just have to make sure that she feels good and she's happy, otherwise the relationship is in jeopardy. Then the next point, her needs will come before yours. Always. Almost always, actually. Because guess what? She is the one that needs to receive that princess treatment. And for her to get princess treatment, someone has to provide it. And you're supposed to provide it as a dude. So you are supposed to giving her proper tier princess treatment, and whatever needs she has, you should be able to take them up. So if it's cold or if it's raining and you carried a jacket because you anticipated that shit, but she didn't because she wants to freeze and shine, you remove your jacket, you give it to her, she wears it. If she said that she isn't hungry and you said that you were hungry and you got food, she's allowed to go and basically take your fries and consume as much of your food as she wants. The only thing is, you just can't do shit about it. The most that you can do is look at her and just act like, you know what, it's okay, baby. Provided you're happy, I'm good. If you're in a public place and she's about to get into an altercation, you should be ready to protect her. If you're in a situation where there's danger, you should be ready to protect her at the cost of your own well-being as a dude. Like, that is an expectation that you have. So you have to be ready to protect at all times. Whether the guy is bigger than you or stronger than you, whether there's multiple people, whether the situation is just impossible for you to actually come out unscathed, you should be ready to protect your babe. Because you're a guy and that is what you're expected to do. Then last but not least, you'll follow everything that they tell you. You will follow everything that women say they want from a dude and they expect from a dude. And then you will just get friend zoned. All right. So everything that she said, you know, you give them a kiss on the forehead, you play with their hair, you compliment them constantly, you tell them and show them how beautiful you are, you spoil them. You do all of that for a babe, or you do all of that for multiple women. And the best that you're going to get is friend zoned. Not unless if this baby is super into you, you are going to get friend zoned. You want to know why? Because babes do not feel like they should owe you anything for you treating them like that. And on top of that, most times whenever babes are busy saying, oh, I'd want a guy to do this and that for them, they have a particular guy in mind that they would want to do that for them, and any other guy that does that, they will either be taken advantage of or will be seen as less than because you are basically simping for her. And if you think I'm lying, I will tell you this from personal experience. As a guy that grew up basically reading articles that were meant for women from like pullouts or newspapers and shit, I basically read about how to make a woman happy. You know, how to treat them right, you know, the stuff that a woman would expect. And I implemented all of those strategies and all of those tips when I was pretty green in the dating market. And I will tell you for a fact that what that got me was friend-zoned way more than I probably should have been. All right. I got friend-zoned so much, I feel like at some point I basically had a piece of land in the Sahara because of all the dust that I was getting. Like that shit must have been like a sand dune at some point. So eventually, you will go through all of that. You will realize that you're just getting friend-zoned, so you will have to change your tactic, or you will choose to have to act a certain way in line with how you are as a person so that you can get some positive results. So, at the end of it, you'll realize that every single thing that you thought you could have done or should have done as a dude probably wasn't going to work in the first place. Which brings me to my conclusion in all of this. There's a reason why guys act the way they act whenever it comes to dating. Yes, there are some guys that are a piece of shit. There are some guys that drop the ball. Actually, there's a lot of guys that will probably drop the ball. But a lot of the great guys, a lot of the good guys, even though they might be looked at and you're like, I could probably do better than you, you probably wouldn't, because by the time they got to the point where they were that good as a partner or that good as a person, they probably had to go through a bunch of shit. And if you went through that shit, there's a pretty good chance that you might not have turned out as well as you probably think you would. Although, then again, maybe I might be wrong. Maybe I don't entirely understand the male experience, and maybe women might actually be better men than men. Either way, I want your thoughts on it. The DMs are open. On IG, it is at the Breaktime_podcast. On Facebook, it is at the Breaktime Podcast. On X, it is at Bagaka the D. And on Bluesky, it is at the breaktimepod.bsky.social. Thank you so much for listening all the way till the end, and I will catch you guys on the next break.
But what I believe is that if you put a pastor and a prostitute in one room, one is likely to convert the other.